first original name was going to be Heartbreak King or something like that, or Heartbreak Kid, and I just thought that was stupid. I think a wrestler already has that name. So I was brainstorming like really, really hard for 2 days, like, and I just was coming up with nothing, and then finally my friend suggested I had something King, and then my friend suggested Secondhand something, and I just combined it and it became Secondhand King. And also, it's also a play on Brian Hyland, The Joker Went Wild, which is a doo wop song that not a doo wop song, but it's a pop song that about a guy who loses it all but comes back and gets everything. And it's also an homage to Red Fox.
Another shot at a perfect day. Another shot at a perfect day. I don't know why.
So this is a question I get a lot. The Doo Wop Rap thing, and basically how I came to know and love doo wop is I was 21 and I was coming into this world not really sure what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to make music, and I knew that there was something inside of me that had to be, I don't know, understood in this weird way. And doo wop rap and doo wop in general, specifically the song "The Duke of Earl" by Gene Chandler. When I first heard it, it just like opened my eyes to just something completely unreal. Like it was like an aha moment. Like, okay, this like, if you can talk about something that's so important and so like, because there's a song called Papa's Shotgun, which is a song about a girl who cheats on her boyfriend, and her boyfriend comes back with a shotgun and chocolates. And it's like this really kind of like fucked up story, but it's like, but the doo wop part of it makes it kind of like you're not gonna get offended because it's doo wop, and it just made me feel good about everything. And rap is just how I naturally combine both elements, and it's sort of morphs into something that I want to create specifically for me. Someday, I want Kansas City to be known as the doo wop capital, doo wop rap capital of the world. That's my goal.
Stranded on the corner, hoping somebody will rescue me. I'll be waiting for the man to come along and discover me.
Number one is Tupac, because I spent a majority of my childhood in my room just listening to Tupac and writing down Tupac lyrics. That's all I did. Tupac, you know, being a white rapper, it's kind of cliche, but Eminem, whatever. I had to get it out there. And then Gene Chandler, because he's fucking amazing. And I would say number 4 is Radiohead, because they're fucking amazing. And then number 5, I would have to say somebody who's a little more. I would say number 5 would be Father John Misty. Just because now I really am a fan of his music. So.
Why did it go so wrong? How did we go so wrong? Where did it go so wrong?
So generally I work with, if you noticed on my albums, there's a ton of producers all the time. That's mainly because I don't really want to feel limited to a style, and I like seeing variances in albums, and that's one of the really great things about being a hip hop rapper, is that you can kind of find styles and kind of morph them whatever way you want, with samples or with producers. And it's such a collaborative effort with you and producers that you can come up with anything you want. Generally, I really like to work with local guys. Like Rick Mon is amazing. Infogates is great. Like there's a ton of really talented people here, and then outside of here there's a guy named Legend who's amazing, There's a guy named Rhapsodus who's incredible, and it's really like I just sort of try to find the best stuff I can, and then try to connect them. And I made a beat. I try to make at least one beat per album, and I'm okay. You know, you can edit out all that other shit. Like I just
What
fell off.
beats have you made on what songs?
I made on Before the Bomb Drops. I made the beat for like the lead up to the death, like the lead up to the bomb, I should say. And then on Chuck, I made the last beat, the beat where there's kind of a piano, and then it's Chuck's actual last recording of his show that he did every night for like 5 years, and it was his last recording, and I sampled that.
I just want to shine a light though on what they do, and if they're doing anything funny, it's because they're being pressured into it. FBI, Masons, and Scientology.
I have this thing that I like to do in albums, is that I like to pick a general idea and concept and kind of adhere to it, because I don't know why, it just kind of works for me. And it started with Chuck, and Chuck was an album about this paranoid schizophrenic person that I knew in real life, and somebody that was very dear to me, and somebody that really opened my eyes and made me see things a very different way. And it followed with Before the Bomb Drops, which is a concept record about the world ending and how I would handle the world ending and how I would understand and how I would come to terms with it. And then Almost Blue was essentially like a character that I based loosely off my first 3 years of performing to nobody. And so that leads me to Frankie, and Frankie is an album that is... It started out as an album that was just meant, like I really wanted it to be just a really happy-go-lucky guy that just is really trying, and like there's times where he like kind of breaks down, but Frankie was an album that essentially I wanted to write an album that was a love album, and I've had things in my life change. Like I recently got disengaged. It's kind of a long story, and I think Frankie is morphing into this completely different character. It's a story of this like Doo Wop guy who's born in the real world, and he doesn't really fit in, but he's really trying to fit in, which is essentially what I've been trying to do. Not really fit in, but just trying to find a place to belong. And Frankie thinks he found it, and then something happens, and that's why you need to listen to Frankie. So I work really closely with Steady P. I'm not an official indie ground artist, but Steady has really done a lot to curate the hip hop scene, and I've worked directly with him on a lot of shows, and he is somebody who mentors me, and he's a guy who's really helped me come up, and indie ground is incredible. Like that's the collective and what they do, even for like non-indie ground artists, and give people a chance to express themselves, and more importantly, people get paid for the shows. Like that's super important to get. Like we're trying to create a real hip hop scene here, and I think a thing promoters forget is that to make something real is that people have to be getting paid for it. Like money has to be a thing. My first 3 or 4 years, I didn't get paid a lot of the time, and it just completely deadens everything. So I really respect that about Steady. And
have fun, and then I can be someone, and then I can say I had a perfect day.
I started rapping when I was like probably 10 or something, 10 or 12, and then throughout high school. Like eventually I slowly turned into a hermit throughout my high school career. Like my last senior year of high school, I would lie to all my friends and go home and write music. I would go home and I was just obsessed. Like I have a whole, fucking box of just all music and all stuff I wrote back then, and most of it's terrible. And so then I had this decision to go to college or to follow my dreams, and I chose the dreams route. And I've just been sort of following ever since. I started really doing shows in Kansas City as soon as I turned 21, and I've just been focused on the scene and focused on building this Doo Wop Rap thing. And Kansas City, to me, is like the perfect training ground for any artist because it's a very forgiving scene. I had terrible shows for a long time, and people have continued to believe in me and given me chances, it's given me an opportunity to grow as a stage performer. It's given me an opportunity to grow in my fan base. And I mean, it takes a lot of work. It doesn't just happen overnight. And it's not okay to not promote a show. But it's good to have a place that'll give you a chance when you suck. And I sucked for a long time. And I'm just now getting out of the sucky part and into the, I think, good part. But who knows? I'm not going to say anything. I'll let people decide that.
Small city dreams, nobody really knows where it goes and what it all means. I've had problems, and they all see that the media isn't doing shit for me. When I'm getting talk trash, when it gets so fast, and nobody gives a shit about your brand new track. Look, maybe it's not my tickets.
I've always been the kind of person that wears his heart on his sleeve, and what I go through, for better or worse, always comes out via music. And I guess I kind of have this weird idea about, we were just kind of talking about it, where sometimes we're the pointless generation. We're the generation that kind of doesn't know what we want, doesn't know where we want, doesn't know what we want to do. Everything's all, I don't think there's ever been a generation that everything's been just right, cookie cutter, right in front of you. And we're losing our instincts, we're losing who we are in a way. And I think I tie that in and say that because I think that's why drugs are so appealing, because it brings you back down to this, like, just very, very animalistic, not animalistic, but very, very instinctual part, because you're reacting to everything that's happening inside of you, and it feels very natural and it feels very real, and it also releases chemicals and all sorts of things that people love. And I was really distraught when I found out that my cousin had been losing himself like that. I was really, because it's somebody pretty much, I always wanted a brother, and that was my brother to me. And I brought it up to him, and I told him about it, and I could tell it meant a lot to him. And I didn't write that to be mean. I just wrote that honestly, and I think as an artist, that's all I can do. I think, I've had a lot of things in my life, like, I've had relationships not work out. I think Frankie is taking a completely different turn due to my recent relationship, how it's happened and how it, I was engaged and now I'm not. And I think that is definitely playing into how Frankie is ending. I would say mainly that I really think it's important to realize that we're all in this together as human beings, and that if anything, I want people to have that emotional connection. That's why I write how I write.
Why did it go so wrong? Why did it go so wrong? Where did it go so wrong?
I'm working working on finishing Frankie. So I'm sort of reassessing. The whole album is kind of changing, and then I have another just between you and me, public camera. I am throwing a big show in September, so I have a few things going on. I've thought about that a lot, actually, Jameson, and it's. I'm really glad that you asked me that question. Yeah, that's that's the meaning.
Selling meat.
It's about selling meat. That's 100% what it's about. I can't believe finally, after 2 years of performing the song, Jameson, he gets it. Jameson, B.E. for life. That's what I say.
I think I know I live it right. We can have some fun tonight, I'm a good time. I swear to God I'm a good time if you give me a peace of mind. Just one more line, but you're stuck being you. But the things that you do, I wish that I knew. The stuff that gets through, you're lying to yourself. You say that you're happy, cause I can see you're not. You walk higher than me because you think you're higher than me.